Thank you, Mr Speaker. From the 1st of October, New Zealand will introduce the biggest tax reform package that this country has seen in a generation, Mr Speaker. This tax cut package is the commitment that the National Party made to the electorate when we went to the polls at the last election. And, Mr Speaker, we are delivering upon it. The tax package puts a whopping $4 million, that's $4 billion, Mr Speaker, $4 billion into the back pockets of hard-working Kiwis. Yes, GST will rise and by $2 billion, meaning the net benefit to Kiwis will be positive. It is projected that the average family on $70,000 will be $25 per week better off after accounting for that GST increase. This has got to be good for New Zealand, Mr Speaker. From the 1st of October, Kiwis will see significant increases to their wage packets and will have the choice over whether they choose to spend that money or to save it. Importantly, real after-tax wages are forecast to rise by 1.2% in the last 3 months of this year. This is an excellent result. I'm confident we will look back on this initiative in many years' time and say this was a pivotal point in the future of New Zealand's prosperity. Mr Speaker, there is an inconvenient truth of this package for the Labour Party, and that is that many high-income property investors will now in fact face higher taxes as depreciation is removed from commercial and residential property. The Labour Party wants to paint this package as tax cuts just for the rich. Well, how far from the truth would that be, when in fact many property investors will now be paying higher taxes? Where previously property owners have been able to claim losses through the non-cash accrual of depreciation, they will now face paying tax on their property investment. Given that most investment properties generally rise in value, not fall, this is a sensible move. This is part of the rebalancing of the economy and will help to change investment decisions from non-productive residential investment into residential and property towards productive investment in the productive engine of the economy. That is a rebalancing that is needed to take place, and this government is delivering upon it. Mr Speaker, we throw lots of different statistics around this House in a game of the ultimate one-upmanship. We're all guilty of this as we attempt to manoeuvre our political chess pieces in an effort to either regain or retain the Treasury benches. Of all the statistics that have been thrown around this House since I've been an MP in this House for some 5 years, it is the ability of a government to lift the wages of its constituents above the rate of inflation, which I believe is the most important. Real wage growth is the genuine measure which indicates whether a government has been able to improve the lot of its citizens or, in fact, not. This should be the focus of any government, and particularly for those parties that claim to represent low-income earners. The last Labour government did achieve real wage growth over the 9-year period that it was in office, but it achieved real wage growth of just 3%. That's an annual real wage growth over that 9-year period of 0.3% per annum. Absolutely appalling. Just unbelievable. The interesting point is that most of that wage growth was achieved in the last 4 years, in the first 4 years of that regime. Mr Speaker, throughout a period when we had some of the highest surpluses in the economy ever for this country, with $6 and $8 billion surpluses, that government over there achieved virtually zero real wage growth for cleaners, for factory workers, for the people that they claim to represent. Mr Speaker, that is an indictment of the worst kind. At the nub of this result were three failings. Firstly, a failure to control inflation, and we heard today that towards the end of the last Labour government, inflation was at over 5%. Secondly, the fact that many Kiwis were continually being pushed into higher and higher marginal tax brackets. And thirdly, a philosophical opposition to allowing taxpayers to keep more money in their back pockets. Even when Michael Cullen was forced into adjusting the level of marginal tax rates, he reneged. He reversed them. It was not until the death knell of the Labour government that they finally accepted that the workers of this country deserved to be rewarded. The last-minute decision was far too late to impact upon their record of real wage growth of just 3%, and let me say it again, 3% real wage growth over 9 years. What sort of record is that for the cleaners, for the production factory workers of this country? It is abysmal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sue Kedge.